Hi there, good morning everybody. Thank you again for coming out today. My name is Michelle James. If you didn't meet me yesterday, I am a widow and I run the Camp Lejeune Toxic Water Widows.
Thank you again. Thank you for being the cameraman.
My little thing up and running. Okay, this was really important to me. I'm supposed to be in the UK. It's actually my birthday today. I'm 60 today.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Don't qualify for Medicare yet.
I've been a Camp Lejeune family member for 10 years now, and in fact, my husband passed away 2019, and I joined the Camp Lejeune Toxic Water Survivors Group in 2016. So it's 10 years I've been in the game. Not as long as some of the others, not doing the fight as well as Brian, Mike, Jerry, but I try to do my little bit when I can. Okay, so just bear with me, let me just pull up what I had to say. Brian caught me off guard, I wasn't ready. But this is so important to me that, like I said, I was in the UK spending time with family, and as soon as Brian said we're going to DC, I was like, I can't make it. He said it could be either late May or early June, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't go, I won't be able to go, I'm in the UK. But there was a part of me that knew that I had to be here today because, like I said, I represent the widows. I try to represent the widows, I try to be their voice. And so, if the leader of the widows group cannot be here, then that's a crying shame. So I changed my flight and I got here. And I'm happy to be here representing, and I'm happy to stand beside Brian, Mike, Jerry, and everybody else that's here today. So I'm the founder of the Lejeune Empowered Advocacy for Widows, and as I've stated, today is my 60th birthday. I cut my trip short because this matters, and it matters to me deeply. And it matters because I made a promise to my husband, Eric, on his deathbed. I promised him that I would not stop fighting until justice was served. So today, on my 60th birthday, there is nowhere else I would rather be than standing here, keeping that promise. I stand here for Eric. I stand here for veterans who served. I stand here for the widows and widowers who buried the person they loved. I stand here for the children who lost their parents. I stand here for the families who watched sickness, fear and grief enter their homes because of the water they trusted. And I stand here for the entire Camp Lejeune toxic water community, because we are not isolated stories. We are connected by the same injustice. My husband was diagnosed with colon cancer just before his 50th birthday. And for around 2 years, he had been going back and forth to the doctors and hospital with problems. He was repeatedly given laxatives to loosen his stool.
Okay, is that for
Before returning to the UK for my first visit since moving to the United States, I insisted on taking him back to the doctor so I could leave with some peace of mind. Eric asked the doctor directly, "Do you think I have cancer?" And he was told no. He was told he was too young. Because he had not reached the age of 50, he was not offered a routine colonoscopy. But when the doctor examined him, they found a mass. More tests followed. And just like that, shortly before his 50th birthday, we received the devastating news: cancer. What followed over the next few years was not for the faint-hearted. I cared for my husband single-handedly, by myself. I was the little English woman in a strange land, learning policies and procedures as I went along. I had to learn how to advocate. I had to learn how to ask questions. I had to learn how to fight. Before Eric was diagnosed, I knew nothing about Camp Lejeune toxic water. Nothing. And after he posted his cancer on Facebook, one of his Marine buddies told him about the contaminated water at Camp Lejeune. At first I shrugged it off. It sounded so far-fetched. But I am naturally curious, so I started researching. And what I found stopped me in my tracks. I discovered the Camp Lejeune Toxic Water Survivors Community Group, which already had 16,000 members at the time, and that was in 2016. I now have been a part of this community 10 years. In fact, I think it's my anniversary this month, 10-year anniversary of coming into contact with that group. And although colon cancer was not on the presumptive list, I saw too many patterns not to pay attention. I started connecting with members of the community, I started asking questions, I started researching more deeply. People helped me understand the VA system and the battles families were already facing. The more I learned, the more difficult it became to ignore. Eric was not a textbook case, and after surgery he suffered complications. He spent weeks in hospital. His life became a cycle of appointments, treatment, procedures, bags, drains, fear and loss of dignity. I watched a handsome man with the biggest smile slowly become someone who was afraid to leave the house because he feared of having accidents. I watched a man lose control of basic bodily functions. I watched his confidence disappear. I watched depression take hold. I watched him struggle with suicide thoughts. And this is what this journey cost him. It cost him his health, it cost him his dignity, it cost him quality of life, and ultimately it cost him his life. It cost me my husband, it cost me years of stress and caregiving. It left me widowed with little support, trying to navigate a new life and an unfamiliar system. And my question to the government is this: why was this not more widely publicised? Why did families like ours have to discover this through Facebook posts and word of mouth? Why were veterans not clearly and directly informed? Why were families not told? Camp Lejeune was not an isolated little corner of the world. People came through that base from many places. Different branches of the military trained there. Families lived there. Civilians worked there. People from other countries also trained there. I actually have a widow in my group, and her husband was in the British forces. This story did not stop. Would he still be here today? We will never know. And that is something I have to live with. Eric agreed to put his life on the line for this country, but I am sure he never imagined that the thing that would take him down would not be a battlefield. It would be the water he trusted, the water so many families trusted. And I want you to look around us today and look at the photographs we are carrying, look at the faces of our heroes, and look at the posters showing just some of the people who are no longer here. And really look at them. They're not statistics, they're not claim numbers, they are not files sitting on somebody's desk. These are real people, husbands, wives, fathers, mothers, brothers, sons, daughters, veterans, family members, people who served, worked, lived, loved and mattered. Look at their faces, look at their ages, look at how young so many of them were. Lives cut short, families changed forever. Widows and widowers left behind to carry grief, paperwork, unanswered questions, and a fight they never asked for. And remember, these photographs only show some of the people we've lost. There are only a small representation of the true human cost of Camp Lejeune toxic water. So I ask you, when you look at the face after face, name after name, age after age, how can anyone dismiss this as a coincidence? How can anyone look at these photographs and say delay does not matter? Even photographs represent a person who is loved. Every face represents a family who has already paid a price no family should have to pay. Every age reminds us that time was stolen, and every empty space beside a widow, a widower, a child or a grandchild reminds us why justice cannot be delayed any longer. And when we talk about loopholes, technicalities and delay, we are not talking about abstract legal language. We are talking about the families standing here today. We are talking about justice for those who are no longer here to stand in this place and demand it for themselves. And when the Camp Lejeune Justice Act was passed in August 2022, many of us believed justice was finally within reach. And after decades of silence, denial and suffering, we believe families would finally have a fair path forward. But no one imagined it would take this long. No one imagined that people had already waited for decades and would still be waiting. And during that wait, we have lost people. I've lost widows from my community who did not live long enough to see justice for their husbands. We have lost strong advocates, people who fought with everything they had, people who kept showing up even while cancer was taking their strength. But cancer could not wait. Cancer does not wait for paperwork. Cancer does not wait for legal arguments. Cancer does not wait for technicalities. Cancer does not wait for compensation. And grief does not wait either. Delay is not harm. Delay has human cost. And every month that passes, more veterans become sick. More families face financial hardship. More spouses carry the burden alone. And more people die without ever seeing the justice Congress intended. The original Camp Lejeune Justice Act opened a door. It was meant to give veterans, civilian workers, widows, widowers, and all those harmed by the toxic water a fair chance to be heard. But loopholes, legal interpretations, and procedural barriers have slowed and narrowed the path Congress meant to create. That is why ensuring justice for Camp Lejeune Victims Act matters. The Corrections Bill is not asking Congress to start over, it is asking Congress to finish the job. It is asking Congress to tighten the law so its original purpose cannot be delayed, narrowed or blocked by technicalities. No amount of compensation can bring my husband back. No amount of money can restore the health of thousands of people affected by Camp Lejeune toxic water. But compensation can help families who are suffering now. It can bring stability to people who have been left struggling. It can show veterans and their family that their government does care. It can show that when harm is done, this country is willing to take responsibility and try to make it right. When I first came to the United States, I was struck by how deeply the military appeared to be respected. People say, "Thank you for your service." At the airports, the military members are invited to board place first. This is a visible sense of honour. But for me, there is a disconnect. Because words matter, but action speaks louder. And what message are we sending to the younger generation? Sign your life away on the dotted line. Be prepared to put your life at risk. But when your service is over and you become sick because of something connected to your service, your family will be left to fight alone. That message, that cannot be the message. That should never be the message. Our Camp Lejeune toxic water family should not be treated like the forgotten relatives nobody wants to acknowledge. We should not have to keep begging to be seen. We should not have to keep proving that our pain matters. We should not have to keep waiting while more people die. Congress opened the door with the Camp Lejeune Justice Act. Now Congress must make sure that door does not close in the faces of the very people it was created to help. Today, we ask Congress to support the Ensuring Justice for Camp Lejeune Victims Act. Support it because justice should not be blocked by technicalities. Support it because veterans should not die waiting. Support it because widows and widowers should not have to spend years fighting for recognition after already losing the person they love. Support it because the children and family deserve answers. Support it because our military community deserves more than words. Our loved ones served, our families sacrificed, our community sacrificed, and justice should not die in delay. Look around this rally. We are real people. These are real lives. These are real losses. Something needs to be done. Not next year, not next month, not next week, but today. We need justice and we need the HR 4145 to be passed, and also the Senate Bill S907. How many more people have to die? I made a promise to my husband on his deathbed. I will not stop fighting until justice is served. And Eric, I'm still here. I'm still fighting. We are fighting. And we will not stop until justice is done. Thank you.
Thank you.